When I bring a dog or puppy into my home for the first time, the first thing I work on is control. So that way, when I give the dog freedom, I know I have control because that's the first thing I worked on. A lot of people do it the opposite way. They give their dog too much freedom, then they have to start taking it away because they realize they have no control, and they let their dog create all these bad habits that they now have to fix. So I'm going to show you the tool that I use to maintain control over my puppy inside and outside of the house. So the tool that I use on my puppy inside and outside of the house is a slip lead. A slip lead is a leash collar combo all in one. It's easy to slip on a dog that's too crazy and excited, instead of trying to clip a buckle or put a harness together on your dog. You can just throw it on your dog and it tightens up. So it's also good for dogs that are like escape artists that know how to get out of a harness or get out of a collar. It's really good for those type of dogs because I guarantee you they will not get out of a slip lead. And the way I use a slip lead is I want to mimic those show dogs that you see in the ring, and they're walking around, they're prancing, their head is all high, and they have that thin little chain. So I want to do the same thing with the slip lead. I want to get it high on their neck as I possibly can because that's the most sensitive part of their neck, and slide this black tab down the stopper so that way it won't get super loose while they are walking on it, and I can still apply corrections when needed. There are a lot of places that use slip leads. For example, your vet clinics, they're dealing with dogs all day, so it's easy to slip it on one and bring the next dog to the back, get another dog, take them to the back. A lot of rescues use slip leads, so you don't know what these dogs have been through. I'm sure a lot of them do get out of harnesses and collars and freak out, so slip leads are really good for rescues because you could throw it on the dog, have them secure, and then take them where you need to take them to. Obviously, a lot of dog trainers use slip leads. It's a good way to find out, how bad the dog actually is that you're working with by how they react to the slip lead. Maybe they've never had a collar on, they've always been walked on a harness, or maybe they don't even care about the slip lead and they might need a prong collar, so it lets us see where the dog is at when we do use a slip lead. When it comes to getting a slip lead, I recommend getting a high quality slip lead. I'll put a link in the description of some that I recommend. Don't go to Petco or PetSmart and get a slip lead. They have a good brand of slip lead that I recommend, but they're so thick, and a lot of the other slip leads there are really cheap and just flimsy and won't last long. So with the slip leads that I really recommend you get a really thin one because, like I said, we want to mimic those show dogs in the ring and they're prancing, and it's super thin with that chain on their neck, and they're just prancing around the ring showing off their body. So I want to mimic that, so I need a really thin slip lead. The ones at PetSmart and Petco are super thick, so it's going to mimic like a flat collar, and even a flat collar on the dog's neck will slide down, and they still have all that muscle down there. And a thick flat collar is hard to correct your dog, so a thick slip lead is going to be the same way. I really want a thin slip lead, and I believe these are like 3/8 of an inch slip lead that I use, but yeah, link will be in description. Slip leads are good for big dogs, small dogs, old dogs, young dogs. Any dog can benefit from working with a slip lead. The dog you have at home that is just too crazy, if you haven't done any training with your dog, a slip lead is going to help out in some type of way. So let's talk about how it's useful inside. So I keep this slip lead on my puppy while they're inside the whole time until I can really trust my puppy and she's listening to verbal commands and I don't have to go and get her every second I say something. So it works out inside because she's a puppy. I know she's going to get into things. I know she might have an accident. So the slip lead allows me to go and correct those behaviors and grab the slip lead before the behaviors happen, or I can give her correction when it does happen to let her know I do not want her doing that. And the way we apply corrections with a slip lead is I'm popping the lead so I can snap her out of whatever she's trying to do. So for example, she pees in the kitchen, I can go grab the slip lead, pop the collar for a consequence, and take her straight outside. Other things like if she's chewing on the couch, I can go pop the lead and then give her something else to chew on so she knows there's some type of correction for chewing on the couch, but then I can come and give you like a bone and show you what you are supposed to be chewing on. Another thing, maybe jumping up when you have guests over. So having a slip lead on your dog, the guest can also correct the dog and get them off of them, or you can just get up and go correct them yourself. But it'll keep the dog accountable while they are in the house. A lot of people will start without the leash, then the dog gets into something, then you got to go get the leash and put it on the dog, and then now the dog just sees the lead as something negative because you go and get it and then punish the dog after the dog does something, when if it was already on the dog when the dog wasn't doing anything, it's not going to be seen as a negative thing. So let's talk about how it's useful outside. So it's useful outside because you can help your dog walk right and have a loose leash walk with the slip lead. You can pop the lead when your dog is distracted by like leaves blowing by. That gets puppies a lot. Or you see another dog and the dog's just staring at your dog and they're just about to explode and start getting reactive. You can pop the leash and keep your dog walking and help them forget about that distraction. Other things as well, jumping up, even inside, correlates to outside as well. You can pop that leash when you walk up to somebody in your neighborhood and stop them from jumping up on them. And another thing is too, it's just going to make your obedience a lot better in general, because you can make it a lot more reliable and you won't have to rely on treats, because we'll start fading the treats away and just make that obedience nice and reliable. And the way you do that is teaching leash pressure. So when you teach leash pressure, you want to make sure your dog does something in order to have that leash pressure come off. So if, for example, when you're making a dog sit, you're going to apply pressure and then the dog's going to sit and then the pressure comes off. When you want them to go down, you're going to apply pressure down. They lay down, pressure comes off. So teaching them leash pressure is going to give you a way to manipulate your dog into certain behaviors without having to use the treats, because they know leash pressure and they want to turn off that leash pressure. And once you teach them pressure, it's going to be a lot easier to teach them other things, like with the e-collar, because pressure is pressure. No matter what type of tool you use, your dog's going to understand pressure. It's just a different tool. So slip lead is a great way to start training from day one if you haven't done any training yet, or you just brought a puppy home, you just brought a rescue dog home for the first time and you want to implement training from day one. You can't go wrong with a slip lead.